When I first arrived here, I don't know if I met with every teacher, but I met with quite a few. And one of the questions that I asked them is, why are you here? Why did you choose this school? And on the Chinese side, you might expect that they would have answered because it's a Chinese bilingual program. And of course, a lot of them did. On the English language side, virtually every single person that I asked, why did you come to this school? They all said, because of the bilingual, bicultural focus.
So be careful, it's not necessarily we're talking about the language, but
working at CAIS is different, I think, than working at other schools because of the bilingual program and because the two programs, I think, are kind of so different in so many ways. So I think for the kids and for teachers working here, you've got these two very different things going on side by side, and then there's some crossover as well, and these coming together, and the kids are kind of seamlessly going back and forth. It can be sometimes challenging because there is no one pat way to do it. Every kid is coming with a very different experience to the school, and you have to adapt. But that's also what makes it exciting and interesting, because it's not just one thing. It's not just a Chinese school for Chinese kids and Chinese families at all.
When I first came to CAIS, I thought that Montessori and the Chinese philosophy of teaching were two opposite things. And I've come to realize that there are many, many similarities. We all teach children from best practices, and the children are the center of our teaching and education. I would say that the two philosophies are complementary to each other. I think that teaching in a bilingual, bicultural educational setting just really sort of opens up our teaching to it being more of a global perspective.
这些孩子刚刚来到我们幼稚班，到送他们去1年级，在这一阶段里，从他们的身上那些可爱的笑脸，那些对你的信任。 还有呢，就是说每天他们都开开心心的，我也是非常开心，跟他们在一起真的是非常高兴。
谁还没有朋友？有，还有。
我觉得小孩子真的天生是非常可爱。那我觉得小孩子呢，就像是小树一样，它的枝杈在往不同的方向发展。作为老师来讲，我觉得老师就是 园林师或者叫园丁，怎么样修整这棵小树？怎么样根据它的特点，一点点的让它往就是有用的方面，就是好的方面去发展。这是我觉得老师是必备的。
Teaching is an incredible amount of work, but it's joyful work. The most inspiring thing about being a teacher is that the profession really requires you to be the best person you can be and to model in every moment compassion, to model critical thinking, to model all of the qualities that you want to see in your students. And so I think teaching makes me a better person. The most inspiring thing about teaching at CAIS is that I really have the sense that we're raising global leaders. I love that about our school.
Children have so much to contribute, and we don't hear from them a lot in this culture. I just think they have so much to say, and they're so expressive, and I think it's taught me to really listen. Children are so present in the moment, so I'm always learning from them. I think the best teachers are always learning, and they're modeling that for their students.
I think that the best thing about teaching fourth graders is that they begin to make a switch from learning how to read to using their reading skills to learn. And that shift that happens in late third, fourth grade feels magical.
You are going to be working with a group of 3 people, and your task is to take an apple. And the idea is 3 people will get 1 apple. And using what you know about what we've studied with equivalent fractions and symmetry, we're going to try to figure out how we can
I think the thing that
divide this
inspires me
apple
most
evenly
about
between
teaching
3 people.
is the possibility of it. Watching an individual student and also a group of students move from one place to another. And it winds its way many different paths, but being able to look back at the end of the day, at the end of the month, at the end of the year, and see how much growth has happened in each individual student, as well as the community that has grown, it feels so powerful. It feels inspirational.
其实我现在教5年级，让我最开心就是看到他们就是慢慢的要转变成就是青少年了，可以跟他们有一些脑力激荡，然后尤其是用中文跟他们脑力激荡，然后呢可以跟他们讨论比较深的话题，然后能够把这个语言呢跟他们的现实生活就是有所连结。其实这是让我觉得最兴奋的事情。是正确。
I think the ORF program is very well suited to this school because it does have an openness and a foundation that's applicable to playing music and doing dance from all different cultures. It doesn't come from a particular cultural bias. The students need to be having fun while we're working, or what's the point? You know, if they aren't having fun, they won't take it into themselves, and they won't take it with themselves when they go beyond here. I think they know that the point is not to get up in front of an audience and to be perfect, but that they own it, that it's flexible, and that they're doing it together as a community. The Chinese teachers are teaching with a different process than the teachers who are teaching in a progressive Western manner. And so the students are not only learning another language, they're learning a whole different cultural mindset. The students having a very deep experience with 2 languages, with English and Chinese, actually informs their music work, I think, in a very interesting way. English has accent and rhythm as very important. And Chinese, of course, the tones are very important. So the accent and rhythm and then the tonality together give you a rather complete musical overview.
There's a saying in Chinese which is attributed to Confucius. It's 因材施教, which means that the teacher knows the student and teaches the student accordingly. And I think that that's really the hallmark of a great teacher.
我觉得美国是他们家庭来自各不同的地方，各种不同的文化，各种不同的区域哦，所以对我来讲，他们的生活背景差异性非常大，所以常常我要做调整，做一些所谓的区分教学。所以这个部分对我来讲是一个比较新的一个尝试，然后我也从里面学到很多的东西。为什么看电视的时候不能学习？我们最近在做辩论活动，那辩论来讲，对他们来讲是一个很新的尝试，因为他们以前他们可能会想在中文跟英文，他们大概在语言上还是有差距，在学习就是他们能力上，他们到达可以辩论的一个程度，所以是蛮难得的。就是说，他们知道，他们可以先把文章写出来，然后经过训练之后，他们也知道，他们也可以做辩论的活动。所以他们是可以，让他们知道说，他们是可以做到更深层的一个语言学习的一个活动。
It's a process, and language acquisition happens in many forms for many different people. It might happen for some people by having a hands-on experience. For others, it might be talking in a small group. For others, it might be reading a really engaging story. But presenting lots of different opportunities for students to take that next step, I think is really important.
最开心的就是每一天我们的学生一进门的时候， 我就看到他们那个灿烂的笑容，这个让我一天都非常的高兴。用你自己的话把这一段的意思说。今天我们课堂上面研究的是一个跟环保有关、地球暖化有关的这种一个大的单元。我们8年级着重在空气污染。我们希望能够顾及到每一个孩子的需要，那么能够帮助他们解惑，能够帮助他们把这个中国的语言跟文化吸收，变成他这个基本的或者他喜欢的一个知识技能，然后怎么样应用，甚至于将来怎么样变成一个终身学习者。那出了校门之后，他能够继续不断的保持这个研读中文。或者是探讨中国文化的这种兴趣是蛮具有挑战性的。
Overall, I think that the teachers are really supportive.
A lot of them, they're fun to be with, inspirational,
friendly,
unique,
lively,
funny.
Did you say helpful yet?
No.
Helpful? They're all smart, but that one's their teachers, so.
Creative. Clever.
Fair.
Loving.
Exemplary. Encouraging. All-knowing. They always know when you haven't done homework.
I think my favorite teacher is Mr. Morris because he's like not just your teacher, he's your friend. He really knows what he's teaching and he's always a lot of fun.
I would love to learn more about that.
I learned a lot, but also had a lot of fun in his class.
Ice plant.
He's really fun to hang out with, and I feel like we've spent a lot of time with him. We had a lot of fun days with him.
Here. What I'd like you to do, I'd like you to now put it in your own personal writing journal as part of your brainstorm.
I also really like Mr. Gray.
I remember their backyard fence looked like it was built by an insane child.
What I like about him is that we always start class off with class discussions and we read really interesting books and we're constantly just reading and talking and it's really fun.
Already kind of have some sort of
The teacher's really analytical and he's like sort of laid back, but he's very articulate in the way he voices his analysis. And so it's really interesting to hear what he has to say and the topics that he brings up so that we can analyze.
They'd be the easiest thing in that yard to destroy, right?
My favorite teacher is probably Miss Suhoff.
She's a really nice teacher, but her classes are really intense.
5 into base 2.
She is the best at making math fun and informative at the same time. We're always taught to think outside the box.
0, 1, 2, 3, right? To each power?
A lot of times in math, sometimes I have trouble with like the problem or the test. And every time Miss Suhoff always comes up to me and she's like, that is okay. We are all improving. We are all going to be okay.
So what was the final answer for 586 into binary?
Well, math is like my strong subject. So last year I was doing good in math, and then I went into Miss Suhoff's class. Even though I was getting the answers right, it'd be sloppy or messy, and she'd mark me down for that and asked her why. And she's like, just because you're smart doesn't mean when we give you a good grade, you have to put effort into it too.
Okay, good. It seems like it's time for yoga. 1, 2, and 3.
The most fun I've ever had in the class was in science with Ms. Sherman.
Each one of you is going to find out how much air can you exhale in 1 second.
The science program here at CAIS is really quite exciting. It's based on hands-on, inquiry-based teaching.
You're going to practice start-stop.
The reason I went into teaching was to help students learn that science is not as mysterious or hard to know or hard to learn or understand. And I think it's extremely important to be scientifically literate, no matter what field you're in. I have learned that it really is where you can start to have impact further on in a child's life, and therefore I believe it's going to impact society.
You have this going on, this sort of porous line between the English and the Chinese teachers, and they're influencing each other all the time. The Chinese teachers will never become completely Western. And take me, I've lived in China for 15 years. I'll never become completely Chinese. But I think we all have parts of each other in us because we're together all the time working on this bilingual, bicultural project.